All right, guys. In this lesson, we are completing lesson 4 in booklet 7. This one is called area. So at this point, we're moving away from all of the perimeter lessons and moving to something slightly different. Instead of talking about the distance around a shape, we are talking about the area, which is the amount of space that the shape takes up. In other words, this area that I'm highlighting in blue is what we would call the area, the size of that, versus this distance that I'm drawing in red would be the perimeter. Now, something to remember about area and perimeter is the units. When I talk about perimeter, our units are just as they appear in the question. In this example, that would be centimeters. However, when you talk about area, your units change. Instead of centimeters, your answer is going to be in centimeters squared. So please make sure that you remember that. That will be a part of the marking scheme for the test. Now, when it comes to area, you simply need to know what the equation is for the shape that you're working with and how to find the right numbers to place into the right variables. Now, in your notes, I would like you to make an arrow maybe or create some sort of circle around these equations so that you remember that you can come back to them later when you're writing the test. The first equation that we're going to be working with is that for the area of a triangle. And this is A for area is equal to B, which is our base, times H, which is our height, divided by 2. Now, what you need to do is understand that base and height are two numbers that you can pull from the triangle. The base is the length along the bottom of your triangle. So in this example, our base would be 21. The height is the distance straight from the bottom to the top of the triangle. Now be careful, right? This side length over here, even though that goes from the bottom to the top of the triangle, that is not our height. The height needs to go straight up and down like this length right here. So in our first example, the height of the triangle is going to be 22. So I'm just going to fill in here that the height is 22 centimeters. The base is 21 centimeters. And that means that we can find the area simply by plugging them into the equation. So, since area is equal to base times height divided by 2, that is 21 times 22 divided by 2. Let me grab a calculator real quick. 21 times 22 divided by 2. That gives us an area of 231 centimeters squared. Again, please remember that you are squaring your answer, or rather squaring the units for all the marks. All right, let's put the screen like that so we can still see the equation. Now, the shape of the triangle might change slightly, but the equation remains the same. All that you need to do is outline the base, which is the horizontal footprint, the bottom of the shape, and also the height, which is the vertical distance from bottom to top. So, again, our area, which is base times height divided by 2, is equal to 15 times 16 divided by 2, which in this case is going to be 120 centimeters squared. Now, in this last example, we need to actually go outside of our circle to look at this dotted line to find our height. But again, the equation remains the same. This 28, that's our height, the vertical distance from the bottom to the top of the triangle. This 20, that's our base. So, the equation, area equals base times height divided by 2 is equal to 20 times 28 divided by 2, which is 180 feet squared. Now I'm going to go back a little bit because I did make an error. In question A, I said it was 120 centimeters squared, but now that I'm looking at the shape, we're actually talking about meters, not centimeters. So I'm just going to erase that C. It should be 120 meters squared. Perfect. Now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of finding the area of the triangle, we're going to find the area of the rectangle. Now take a second and circle that equation so you know to come back to it later, and perhaps even label all of your variables, where A is the area, L stands for the length, and W stands for the width of our rectangle. Now, you've very likely seen and perhaps memorized this equation before, where the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. Now, it doesn't really matter which side of the rectangle you call the length, but usually people like to call the length the longer side and the width the shorter side. So in example 2, our length is going to be 28 and our width is going to be 15 centimeters each. After figuring that out, all you need to do is plug and play, as we call it. Using the equation, we substitute 28 for L and 15 for W. Using a calculator, 28 times 15 gives us an answer of 420 centimeters squared. Again, please remember to square it. Try calculating these last two areas and make sure that your answer matches mine. In example A, again, area equals length times width. Now, our length is going to be 55. Our width is going to be 15, meaning that area is 55 times 15, which is equal to 825 millimeters is our units here squared. In example B, our length is going to be 49. Our width is going to be 21. So when area equals length times width, that is equal to 49 times 21, which, using a calculator, gives us 1,029 meters squared. So that's about it for our introduction to area, right? As long as you know what your shape is and what equation is associated with that shape, all you need to do is know the right place to plug in your numbers. Take some time to complete the following worksheet and let me know if you have any questions.